So what if I say it's not a fair coin, and I say, okay, I want to say, 60, it's going to be 60, percent of the time you get head, and then, 40% of the time you get tail, right? So of course, if this ratio is close to 0.6, and then I can actually change this to 0.8, and you can see it's close to 0.8, right? So whatever you set in the threshold should be close to the ratio that you get from the simulation. So this is kind of considered as a simulation. And then, yeah, I can do 2 maybe. So this is like definitely not a fair coin. So you can actually see it's actually a lot faster, right? It's a lot faster. Then let's talk about RDD, right? Because RDD stands for Resilient Distributed Dataset, right? So RDD is what you get after, right? You do this. SC, remember, SC is the sparse context dot parallelize, right? And then you get this RDD, right? We can try it. So let's say, right? So we call this thing as say RDD is equal to this, right? So let's look at RDD, the type of this, right? So RDD. Okay, so it's a Spark, pipeline RDD, right? So a map filter are transformers, right? Transformations, right? So you can actually say, okay, I want to map this number to something, right? So I can actually do it like this, right? Split it, and then you don't have to do it, apply all the functions in one operation. You can actually split it and say, okay, I want to map it first. I want to map like this, and then do lambda, right? X to say random, and then I want to map it to just a random number, right? Okay, so if I do this, you can actually see, okay, so I want to assign this RDD2, right? And it's going to be another RDD, right? Because until you collect it, remember, until you collect it, this is all just a transformation, right? Transformation will just transform things without, so you won't be getting anything. But what we can do is say RDD2.collect, right? This is another function that you will need to know, so you can actually see, okay, so this will give us the list of random numbers that will range from 0 to 1, right? So the first one we got was like 0.07, the second one, and so forth. So the length of this, right? So let's look at the length of this. Will give us 1,000, okay? Because that's how we define this number to be 1,000, right? So now, okay, that's great. So now let's take a look at filter, right? Filter is another transformation or transformer, right? So let's say transformer. So we have RDD2 already. RDD2 dot, we can actually, do it this way, right? Transform this to, filter out all of the numbers that we got from this list, but we want it only the ones that are less than 0.2, right? Then I want to assign it to say RDD3, right? You can do it this way. And let's look at RDD3. RDD3, if you don't do collect, it wouldn't do anything. So you have to always put collect, right? So remember, collect is actually doing this. You're actually just collecting things from the worker nodes, right? You're getting that back from the worker node. So that's why you have to always use .collect. If you just print out this RDD3, it wouldn't give you anything. It just tells you, okay, that's what that is, right? And then if you do collect, right, and this is how you can collect it, right? So you can see, yeah, all these numbers are less than 0.2, right? What if I want to say it's 0.5, less than 0.5? You can see all these numbers are less than 0.5. And then how about, let's look at the lengths, right? How many of those, right? Okay, so 400 of those are actually less than, less than less than or equal to 0.5. So we got 400. I mean, we can take the lengths, but the best way is to look at count, right? So say RDD3.count. Oh, I have 2. So this is another function. It's called action. So there are 2 types of Spark jobs. So one is I think I have it somewhere in here. Anyhow, yeah, so one is called action, the other is transformation. Action is like collect, right? Something like collect, count and mean, all these things that you're getting the actual things printed almost. You have to extract it or gather all the information from all these worker nodes and then display and do the aggregation display. So that's called action, right? Which is like different from transformation, right? Because transformation, you're just doing the transformation in silo, right? In all these worker nodes, you're not really doing the final collection or final aggregation or final summary of your results, right? So which is like transformation is separate. Actually, it's separate from action. They are decoupled for reasons, right? Because this will actually fasten the process. So action will typically happen in the end, like this, right? You count it, right? Just let it happen, all these transformations, and then in the end, you want to count it. So it's for the runtime, and it's for because of the setup of of the Spark context, right? And then the worker nodes. So you can actually look at the count, right, like this, and then you get the 400, which is the same as what we got in here, right? The 400, or if we just do this change to say 5, it's almost right the same as in here, right? So you can see that it's pretty convenient that you can just like pretty much having all these functions sequenced, right, one after the other, and then do it this way. So okay, great. So RDD, as I said, resilient distributed data set, Spark job, right? Sequence of transformations on data with the final action, right? Final action transformations are different, right? So, and then transformation, what's a transformation? Spark operation that produce an RDD, right? Every transformation you'll get a new RDD, like how we did it in here, right? RDD1 is, RDD2, that's another transformation. RDD3, that's another transformation. But this, in the end, every step along the way, you're getting a new RDD, right? You're getting an RDD. Action is really just another operation, another type of operation that produce a local object. That's how you can actually use like collect, count, right? Remember, collect, count, mean, all these things that you want to, whenever you want to display it, whenever you want to aggregate and then get the final results, then you use action, right? And then Spark application, sequence of, Spark jobs and other codes. Okay, so that's kind of like the terminology. And then Lambda, right, versus function. So this is exactly the same concept as like the Lambda function, Lambda we were talking about in our pandas data frame. So instead of Lambda, you can actually pass a fully defined function, right, into map, all these things. But it's just for, shorter version of functions, right? Think of it as like short functions, and then you can define, right? Like you can define your own function and then use Lambda to kind of like map it, right? So your function essentially is just a mapper, and then you can say Lambda and passing this function so that you'll be able to use that as a transformation, right? So let's take a look at something else, right? Another example, finding primes, right? That's kind of like a very typical data science problem. So like find all the primes less than 100, right? So that's the ask. And then define function to really define if a number is a prime or not, right? So that's the first thing we want to do, right? Like I said, you can define your own function and then push it through Lambda, right? So this is like a typical way that you can define, if a number is a prime number or not. So in the end, you'll get like a true, false, right? Like Boolean results, return, and then output, right? So then use this filter, right? Use this function as a filter, right? To filter out the known primes. So what we can do is, okay, so the number we're going to actually do is x range to 100. Because 1, we know that we don't want to, use 1 because prime number typically, yeah. So then it will start from 2, right? So if you look at this, right? So you can actually do something like x range is just like you want to get all the numbers from 2 to 100, and then you want to see, okay, so now we want to look at the primes, right? The prime numbers. As usual, as our previous example, we do sc.parallelize, right? Our numbers, right? This is our list of numbers. And then we want to do dot filter, remember dot filter, and then is prime. So we are passing this function as a filter, and then doing the collect, right? So, let's take a look at this, right? So we want to start, as usual, like RDD is equal to, say, this, right? Let's then look at numbers. Oh, we didn't really define numbers. Let's see, let's do like, let's say numbers is equal to x range of, 2 to 10, right? I will do it smaller. So like numbers is like this, right? So let's look at RDD.collect, right? So we can actually get this, right? Because the x range, I don't think it includes the last one, so it will just go from 2 to 9. So it's exclusive with the last number.